Good morning and welcome to the November 10th, 2021 City Council meeting. And we're going to start with the invocation given by Councilmember McKellar, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand.
To Mr. Mayor and to City Council, this morning as I thought about what we experienced on yesterday with Pearl Harbor and what happened in 1941, then I thought about the veterans that are away from us who are serving this country, and I can reflect on being away during holiday time. And so this is holiday time, so we want to think about them and the work that they're doing for us in this country. So my scripture is Romans, the 31st chapter and the 8th verse, and that if God be for you, the whole world cannot be against you. So would you pray with me? Our most kind and gracious Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for waking us up and starting us on this beautiful day. Father, thank you so much for our veterans. Thank you so much for those who are serving on foreign soil that are not able to be here with their families. Father, pray that we will not forget the work that they have done for this country. And Father, thank you for our mayor. Thank you for our city council. Thank you for our city manager, Mr. Broussard. Thank you for the city staff and all of those who work infatigably hard to make sure that the city of Tyler does everything that it should do for the citizens of this great city. And Father, as we begin the work that we're working with here this morning, pray that the decisions that we make in regards to our city will be for the greater good of this entire community, and in particular thinking about those veterans who are asking us to do things for them that we should proudly be able to do. In Jesus' name we pray, and let my Father's children say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, we will begin with approving the minutes from October the 13th, 2021. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
Motion by Westbrook, second by McGee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to have a brief video on some awards, and we're going to head down that way and present the award. We've got four folks, and I say we're giving out awards. We really don't have an award. We just shake their hands, so sorry to leave you on. We don't have anything special. The first one is Yvonne Terrazas, Senior Telecommunicator, 20 years of service with the city. Yvonne? We good? How's this for an award? Next we have Kenneth Gardner, police officer, 25 years of service. Kenneth, how many people in your family are police officers?
Not me. No, there's 4 of us here in town.
That's pretty amazing. We don't want to hide James. Thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you.
All right, next we have Philip Johnson, police officer, 25 years of service. Yes, sir. And last, we have Galen Billington, solid waste manager, 20 years of service. Kind of risky wearing that shirt. You know, when you look at these 4 guys and women, you know, 90 years of service is a long time. And it just is a long time. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for your loyalty to the city. You know, sometimes we don't see that loyalty like we did in the past. And so for you guys that have been here so long, just thank you for that. Thank you for being mentors to the young people. And thank you for shopping with the Blue Santa. And just thank you all for what you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, Kyle, Z1.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Good morning. This first request is a zone change request from R1A to R2, which is single-family and two-family residential, to C1 light commercial district. This is on West 34th Street. This is in Council District Number 3. The applicant's requesting the zone change to develop this property with commercial uses. As you can see, the surrounding properties to the west and north are currently zoned for commercial or industrial use. There is a sliver of residential property to the north there, but that is part of the, it's like a scrapyard at that location. The properties to the south and east are zoned for single-family and two-family uses, but are currently undeveloped. This request would amend the future land use guide from single-family to neighborhood commercial. As you can see, I'll go back to the C1 property to the north is currently like a private club or facility, and then also to the northwest is that salvage yard. As you can see the aerial photo of the property here, generally undeveloped. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to this request. And the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 7-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We got a motion by McKellar, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Z2.
This is a zone change request from R1A Single Family to C2 General Commercial District. This is on Chandler Highway. This is in Council District number 3. The applicant's requesting the change to use the property as a special event center. As you can see, the surrounding properties are currently zoned for commercial use. To the north is currently vacant is the property owned by the Park of East Texas. The properties to the south and east are zoned for industrial and commercial use. And so the applicant's requesting these 3 properties to be zoned for C2 as well. This request would amend the future land use guide from single family to neighborhood or general commercial district. As you can see here, it's a little bit of a pocket along Chandler Highway of single family property. It was previously a church, but the applicant is in the process of developing it as a special event center for commercial use. Of the notices that we sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle?
I have a question. How many will that event center house? Do you know?
No, I don't have that information, but it is I think they just renovated the existing structure there to do that, so, but I don't have the actual number.
I'll have a motion to.
Okay, got a motion? Motion by McKellar, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z3.
Next request is an annexation request for approximately 7 acres of land. This is located along County Road 192, or Old Noonday Road. The applicant is requesting to annex this property for residential use. This would extend the city limits. It would extend the city council district number 2, the ETJ, and it would adopt the future land use guide of single family, medium, low density. The applicant's requesting the original zoning of PUR, planned unit residential district, and they are proposing to develop this for attached and detached residential units. There is, let's go back here. The property does have a preliminary plat which covers the entire tract of land, and the properties would be accessed through a shared access easement, so they wouldn't have direct access to Old Noonday Road. Of the notices that were sent out, we did not receive any in favor or opposition to this annexation request. As you can see, the property is contiguous to the city limits on the east side. That yellow area there that's contiguous there. And so the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 7-0 vote recommended approval of this annexation, as well as the new boundary of the city limits, the new boundary of City Council District number 2, the new boundary of the Tyler ETJ, authorize the city manager to sign a written services agreement per the local government code, amend the future land use guide to reflect single family, medium, low density, and to establish original zoning for the 7.12 acres of land as PUR planned unit residential.
Any questions for Kyle?
Mr. Mayor, we have a card for Mr. Mark Christian.
We have a card for Mark Preishner. Does anybody have any questions for Mark? It's our chance to put him on the spot.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z4.
This is another annexation request. This is on the south side of the city. This is for 140 acres of land. As you can see here, it's contiguous to the city limits on this north side, adjacent to the Brooks at Cumberland Park subdivision. This request is to annex this 140 acres with original zoning of R1A, or a mixture of zonings for R1A, R1B, R1D and PUR, which are all single-family residential districts. And as you can see, this would establish a future land use guide of single-family medium low density, which is consistent with that area. This is 140 acres. Some of these properties have been subdivided already, and as you can see here, it is the extension of Marsh Farm Road from the current terminus on the west side towards Biloxi. It does show that, or that is the future extension there. Of the notices that we sent out for this, we did receive one in opposition from a property owner that's currently inside the city limits on the north side. It's a very small part of the protest radius there. It was 0.01%. We did not have a reason, or they did not express a reason for their opposition, but they did turn one in. The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a 6-0 vote, recommended approval of this annexation request, which would establish the new boundary of the city limits. It would extend the City Council District Number 6, would establish or extend the Tyler ETJ. Also to authorize the city manager to sign a written agreement for city services, to establish the future land use as single-family medium low density, and to again establish original zoning for this property as R1A, R1B, R1D, and PUR. The PUR is subject to a site narrative, which is 25-foot front yard setback, 20-foot rear yard setback, and 6-foot side setbacks. And that would be for the properties to the westmost lots there that are already platted. If you have any questions, let me know.
This is a good way to see your city grow. Yeah, I like it. Any questions for Kyle or comments?
Or Mr. President?
Mark Priestner, once again. Mark, you want to come speak?
Thank you. Mark Priestner, Half Associates, 1121 East Southeast Loop 323. I just want to really quickly say, as you pointed out, cities are kind of hamstrung on how we're growing with the annexation laws. What we've been doing is working with the city on utility extensions, and one of the things you're going to see later today is a change in the burning ordinance to allow for pre-development inside the city. That's really one of the things that's speeding up some of these developments. We'd rather come in earlier than later. So having these kind of pro-development ordinances and changes, I commend the city for working with developers on getting those things in place. This property in particular will end up being about 425 acres brought in the city. This is the first part of 3 different phases that we're all bringing in. Everything that we're doing, just like the last one you saw, our master plan, all the uses, making sure they're compatible, and also looking at utilities and extending out. So we're working with the city to make sure that we're growing in a smart way, but the city's also going out of their way to really look at pro-development, looking at new road options, things like that, that are really helping speed these things up. Be happy to answer any questions.
I just have one comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just waiting for you to go north with me.
We're coming. We're coming. We're coming.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Move to approve Z4.
Second.
Motion by Curtis, second by Wynn. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C5.
This next request is it's actually a request for a waiver of street improvements to San Jacinto Drive. This is associated with a final plat. This is not, we don't typically see these every month, but I'll just address why we're seeing this today. So this is they've applied for a final plat for this property here in order to obtain a building permit. It was identified that there is currently no curb and gutter on this property, and the applicant has requested a waiver from that requirement. Since that requirement for curb and gutter is a public improvement, then only the city council can waive that requirement. And so part of the analysis, so they made that request for council to waive that the curb and gutter requirement for this property. Just part of the analysis, the engineering staff has reviewed this request and identified that those areas in red currently do not have any curb and gutter on them, which is the property the properties to the north are essentially a built-out subdivision. As you can see across the street on the west side, there is a property there that's developed without any curb and gutter, and then the property to the north doesn't have that extension, and so it would require, if the applicant were required to put that in, they'd have to put that in, and then there'd be a 200-foot extension on the north side to connect to that, which is at this point probably infeasible to do since that property is already developed. And so you can see to the south is currently, that's the Lake Placid Road. Those properties to the south are currently owned by the city for the future extension or improvement of Lake Placid Road. So those are likely not to be developed as residential property. There may be some leftover property after that improvement is done to Lake Placid, but there's currently no curb and gutter down there as well. As I mentioned, and here's some street view photos of it. The property in question is the one on the northeast that has the silt fence for the driveway. Across the road, you can see the house that currently doesn't have any curb and gutter, and then as you look north on San Jacinto, you can see that there would be a gap there between this property and that one. And so with that, that's engineering staff did review this and recommended approval of that waiver. And then the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve the plat and recommended approval of the waiver as well. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Kyle?
Move to approve Z5.
Second. A motion by Wynn, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Kyle. Kedrick.
Mayor, Council, you have item P1 before you. His request that City Council consider hearing a presentation to issue approximately $44 million in water and sewer utility bonds. And this debt issue is related to our EPA consent decree. And so I have Stephen Adams here today, who's our financial advisor with Specialized Public Finance. And he's going to go over the details of the bond issue. But just to give you a little bit of a backdrop, we're estimating that we're going to do about $51.5 million in projects this year. About 7.5 will be cash funded, and about 44 million will be through bond issues. And we're estimating that if we go through with this bond issue, that our regulatory compliance fee will increase from about $8.34 per month to approximately $13.42 a month. This is just a presentation. It's not an action item. We just need you all's feedback as far as moving forward on the project. And at this point in time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Kedrick. Again, Stephen Adams with Specialized Public Finance. And as Kedrick mentioned, this is not necessarily, this is not an action item, but we are planning on coming to your meeting in January with bids in hand. And so we like to make sure that the council has the opportunity to get all their questions answered and let everybody know that we're moving forward, because at this point we're going to engage rating agencies. We're going to put engage bond counsel and other people in the process and put bid documents out, and then have broker dealers bid on the bond. So we like to just make sure that before we start that process, if there's any questions, that we get them answered before we start that process. Now what this slide is are the future bond issues for the regulatory compliance. And the timing of these bond issues are driven by the cash flow needs of of the expenditures of the actual project. So they may change a little bit here and there. But you see that after we close this one in February of 2022, that we will most likely be coming back in September of 2022 for another 26 million. And again, that depends on how the expenditures are going for the projects.
Stephen, will those, can you go to that previous slide?
Yes, sir.
When you get to September 2026, does that, at the completion of the consent decree,
Yes.
so there's not more to come?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the estimates are now, and I know that the estimates continue to change as they continue the design and fluctuation in the prices are going on, but this is the latest estimate we have on it right now.
Okay.
And that's really coming from your utility department, so if you have deeper questions, you'll have to ask for them to go with you. So this is just, I know it's a lot of small numbers, but this is kind of the crux of what we look at when we determine the affordability and the potential rate increases that Kedrick was referring to that you'll have to implement at some point, next year. But we still have coverage of 1.71 over the bonds based on our projections. And that 0.71, that extra cash, that's the cash that's the cash contribution that's going towards these projects to try to reduce the amount of debt that we can issue and still manage the rates. We have to have that coverage ratio to maintain the rating. And so, the fortunate thing about all of this is that rates are very low right now, and I've got a graph about that shortly, and hopefully we can get a majority of this in with low interest rates, and hopefully they'll be below the inflation rate. So it's, in essence, you would be borrowing money without paying interest if that holds to be true. This is the sources and uses of the bonds. We expect to get $44 million into the project fund, and then we expect a premium bid, and what that means is the interest rates are so low that the firms that are bidding typically want a higher coupon rate than the yield, so they can get more tax-exempt interest. In order to do that, they have to pay cash up front to the city, and if they pay more than $200,000, we'll just reduce the par amount to below $44 million. We're not going to create additional debt. So, and that may very well happen. That's been happening a lot with the low yields that we're seeing in the market right now. I was talking about the interest rates. What that slide tells you is, and there's a little box, you probably can't see it on the upper corner, but right now interest rates are lower than they've been 88% of the time, and the only time they were lower was just past few months. And so for people that have to issue debt, right now is a very good time to do that. So hopefully we'll enjoy these low interest rates at least for the foreseeable future. Just a timeline. Important dates here are next January the 26th, when we'll be at a council meeting. That'll be the official action. We'll be asking the council to approve the debt issuance and award the bids to the lowest yield bidder. And then we will close on February the 17th. And prior to that time, we'll have to get all the documents together and go through the rating process. And we'll be starting that here shortly. We have worked through the holiday seasons, but we'll get that done as well. We don't expect any change in the rating. We have a very high rating. And from the get-go, we've told the rating agencies, this is all the debt we have, like the first page of this analysis. So they're already aware of all this. Economy here seems to be doing well, so we don't see any issues with the rating. And then, and that's it. Other than that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Stephen or Kedrick? It's not a very fun thing to spend money on, but we've got to do it. I mean, it's,
At least it's a good situation with the interest rates.
Yes.
And inflation now.
all right. If there's no questions for Kedrick or Stephen, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, we're not, okay, forgot. Thank you.
See you next month.
Okay.
Everybody have a great holiday.
Yeah, you too.
Merry Christmas.
H1, Renissa.
Good morning, Mayor and Council, City Manager, City Attorney. I'm before you today to discuss, or actually ask that you open up the floor for a public hearing for public comment on the City of Tyler's Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for the CDBG and home funds. As you may recall, in July of last year on the 22nd, the City Council approved the submittal of the focus areas to HUD, which were non-housing community development, decent and affordable housing, reducing substandard structures, and addressing homelessness. Every year we have to develop an annual action plan. Last year, the annual action plan was funded at $874,000 for CDBG and $366,000 for home. The plan actually consisted of administration, which is staffing, and we spent about 70% of that funding to eradicate substandard structures. We demolished 9. To assist property owners with critical home repair, we assisted 5 families. And to also assist low to moderate income families with home buyers assistance. We didn't have any home buyers assistance program participants last year. We did revamp the program and align it with our new Hidden Palace project, and currently we have 2 families pending funding for that, so that's really excellent. The targeted home rehab was going to be right around the Hidden Palace area, and that is actually set to start after we complete the Hidden Palace project. So we didn't have any targeted home rehabs at this particular point. We did do 2 public facility projects. One was actually completed in 2020, and one is pending completion. The one that was completed was actually putting in the infrastructure for the Hidden Palace project, and the one that just completed, I believe, at the end of this month with Chuck and Carl's help and engineering was the extension of the TJ Austin sidewalk project. If you recall, the sidewalk project actually ended at Queen, and we've extended it from Queen all the way to Gentry Parkway, as well as putting some additional sidewalks down Queen. So that just actually ended this month, but we haven't paid the final bill yet. So that's not actually able to be counted, but I have it up there as pending. And then public service, we put that as a placeholder just in case we had something else to happen similar to the pandemic. When the pandemic arose in 2019 and in 2020, we didn't have any money allocated for public service, so we weren't able to pivot as quickly as we could have if we had some allocated. And if you notice on the allocation, we only had $1,100 allocated there. That's just so that we would have a placeholder, and if we had to put emergency funds there, then we could. So there was not anticipated that we would have a public service contract. It was merely as a placeholder. We are currently constructing homes. We have 5 that are actually erected, and we have 2 slabs that are actually poured. And the project for Hidden Palace is going along fairly good. We were thinking that we were gonna have at least a couple of homes completed this month, but it looks like the timeline is being pushed to January due to,
Supply chain.
that's right. That was the words, exact words I were looking for. So at this particular point, I would ask the mayor to open the public hearing for any public comment on these accomplishments for the annual action plan for 2020.
Let me back up. On the Hidden Palace project,
Yes, sir.
once those are finished,
Mm-hmm.
what's the process to qualify? And
Excellent question. They are only for low to moderate income families, and there's a specific chart that I have to look at from HUD. And I don't have it memorized, I do apologize, but I think a 2-parent household or a 2-person household has to make about $55,000 to $58,000 a year to be considered for those homes. And then they would qualify for down payment assistance and gap assistance from the City of Tyler. So currently the homes are going to be about $168,000, but the home program will provide about $40,000 in down payment assistance to get the house to about $128,000 or so. Therefore, the people that are making the $55,000 for a 2-person household would be able to qualify, or $38,000, I believe, for a 1-person household. But I can get you the the chart directly to you, and the chart is also located on our website. So if you go to the City of Tyler's website and go to Neighborhood Services and CDBG, we have a specific page just for Hidden Palace, and it has all the requirements, all the applications are there, and all of the minimum income requirements there.
Any questions for Renissa before we go into the public hearing?
I just want to commend you for the great work that you have done. In particular, I like the sidewalks and love the lights going up and down Gentry Parkway, Martin Luther King, I should say. The one thing that I have noticed, there's a lot of accidents that are happening on Martin Luther King, and I think probably, and I don't know if there's funding for that. I know you don't have an ATM machine, but at any rate, I think that we need the marking of the street marked off a little bit so that people will be able to tell which lanes that they're in.
Okay.
And so we're seeing a lot of accidents on that street, and it's because they really can't see because the marking is not there on the street.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I wanted to present in regards to that. And I'd like to see some holiday signs out there on those beautiful lights.
Sound like you need to raise some money.
But I remember the ATM machine.
I did mention that ATM machine, didn't I?
I like where you're going.
Thank you, Ms.
I've made
Renissa.
note of that, and I'll get with the other departments to see. what
Yes,
we can
ma'am.
do.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we will now open up the public hearing. I do not have any cards up here. However, if anyone out in the audience wishes to come up and speak to this item, feel free to. Seeing nobody,
She raised her hand.
Not this item, another item, so
pardon me?
she does not want to speak on this item. She has
Okay.
to work on another item.
All right, seeing nobody come forward, we will now close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion to approve the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by McKellar, second by Curtis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, H2. Deborah, is that you?
Yes, it is. Me and my counterpart, Philip Arnold. And so as we are working to pull him up on the screen, Mayor and Council will back to you today on our redistricting process. As you know, we started this process off back in October and even earlier than that when we had some presentations and training on redistricting. But initially, or formally, we started back on October 13th. And since then, we've had several public hearings here during council meeting, as well as several public comment sessions out in the community. And today is the date set for the council to review and consider the final plans. We've had those final plans out there during all of these sessions. And based on receiving public comment on the plans, we are here today to give you a presentation by our redistricting consultant, Philip Arnold, on the final maps that are being proposed. Along with that, we'll be coming to you to also revise the city code. The city code contains reference to the redistricting map, off of which all annexations after that will be used and added to. And there are some basic cleanup on the city code. You'll see there's a copy in front of you, and you'll see those kind of cleanup items in red. And primarily those relate to, instead of being tied to having to vote in your precinct or in your district, we know now that because of the ability of our voting process, you can almost vote anywhere. And so the code is taking in consideration of that and just putting forth the fact that we are now making single-member districts, all of the 6 single-member districts according to this map, and that any individual that is residing in each single-member district can vote only for that respective single-member district's council member and for the mayor. So again, taking away having to be tied to voting within a precinct or in your district. Okay. And those are the changes that we have with respect to the ordinance and then the maps. So I will, he's on? Okay. Philip, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am. Can you all hear me?
All right, I'll turn it over to Philip Arnold.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fulham. Council members, I will share my screen. And let's look at the, share a different one. So this is the proposed map for the city that would redistrict the city, and this is what the new city boundaries would look like. And then if I can go over,
Philip,
let me
hold on
go
one
over
minute, let
to
us catch up with you. We're trying to get our screens.
EF here, and this is the total population of what, or the population breakdown of what the new districts will look like. So you can see the overall deviation here at the bottom is 9.06%, which is below our 10% that we need to comply with one person, one vote requirement. And again, this is the Plan A that we've looked at before. This is the plan we've presented at the various open houses and that we've discussed at prior meetings. And if y'all have any questions about this, let me know. And I think we're all pretty familiar with the maps by this point.
Hey, Philip.
So, yes,
Can you hear
ma'am.
me? If you can make your screen just a little bit bigger so that we can see it.
Yes.
All right.
What would you like to see? The charts or the maps?
Charts.
Okay. All right, let me. All right, is that better?
No.
Let me zoom in.
Oh, yeah, it's in here. Thank you, though.
There we go.
All right. So here you have the total number of people that will be in each district if Plan A is adopted. Then, of course, here we have the ideal size, which is the population of the city divided by 6. The deviation, which is the percent difference of the size of the district from the ideal size. And then the ethnic and racial breakdowns. And then at the bottom, you see the 9.06% of the overall deviation from the biggest to smallest. So the biggest will be District 4, and the smallest will be District 2. Do you all have any questions about the maps, or would you like to see we can go kind of district by district and look at the map if you would like?
If we can, let's go district by district on the map, Philip. Thank you.
Okay. Pull that out. All right. And let me make this a little bigger. So here we have District 1, and this would be essentially unchanged other than here in voting precinct 40, which was taken from District 2 and put into District 1. Then District 2, we did make some changes here in this area, kind of the southwest side of downtown. And then up along District 3 in this area, we added some territory here from District 2 in order to give population District 3. And then, of course, District 3 has this area up here on the northeast side of town. And then I think also some territory here northwest of town. District 4 We did make a little changes to District 4, along with District 5 and 6 in this area, and then also down here with District 2 in order to give some population to District 2 that we took back, or that we gave to District 3. District 5 was largely unchanged, but did change a little bit up here around District 4. And then District 6, which again was largely unchanged. And those are what each district will look like. The shading is what each district will look like. The numbers you see here in white, for example, 59 here in the middle of the screen, are voting precincts, just for your reference. That's what they are. For our purposes, they don't have much effect, but I just wanted to let you know what they represent. Do you all have any questions about the maps?
I don't have a question about the map that's shown here. Mine's just specific to what we approved today for Deborah, you mentioned modifying the city code to reflect the new map. How will the annexed territories will they be part of this, or?
Yes, as Section 1-11, under single member districts, subsection B, you see that has not changed, but what happens is the annexations of new land into the city will be added to the single member districts contiguous to them by the extension of the boundaries described in these maps. Okay.
So once you add that acreage he's talking about, you're still well within the 10%.
There's no one in there now.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've,
No population.
There was nobody in the area.
That's right, no population.
Yeah, next census it'll make a difference.
Yeah.
right. And again, that is a reason we kind of look forward during this process of what growth and development might be, but that's also why we have that plus or minus 10% in there to kind of help us going forward in taking care of how the city grows between now and the next required redistricting, although there are some really major changes in the city that could in fact cause them to believe they may have a higher deviation than they really want in order to be within the one person, one vote rule, then the city could then go through this process itself without the requirement. And some cities do. Philip, did I say that correctly?
Regarding annexation, is that your question?
Yes.
Yes, so annexation, if the annexation is of undeveloped property, which I believe in this case it would be, there would not be a requirement to redistrict. And then as that property filled out, you could theoretically and potentially be challenged and need to redistrict if overnight, let's say 10,000 people move there. But that's going to take time. So, you know, as far as any immediate need to do it, there is no immediate need to do it unless you're adopting, let's say, a subdivision of 10,000 people who already live there, then you may have a need. But in this case, I do not see a need to.
So this is the last public hearing before final consideration by the council. So if we can open the public hearing, see if we have any public comments on that. We do have placed on the agenda opportunity for a council to go into executive session, as you have in the past. If you want to, that's available for you. And then when we come out, we will be asking or recommending that the maps be accepted and the changes to the ordinance be approved.
Okay. Before we move into the public hearing, does anybody have any other questions for Deborah or Philip? All right, we will now enter into the public hearing. I do not have any cards. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, you're more than welcome to come up. Ms. Wills, you good? Okay. Anybody else wish to come up and speak? Seeing no one, we will now close the public hearing. We are going to go into executive session. It will probably be brief. Is allowed by the Texas Open Meetings Law, Chapter 551 of the Government Code. The City Council may go into executive session to consider the following under Section 551.071, consultations with attorney regarding the following. Receive advice from council regarding the city's redistricting obligations. Any final action to be taken by the City Council will be taken in open session. So we're going into executive session, and we'll be back in just a bit.
Causing more problems.
Yes. And then we'll take a quick break.
What about, we don't need a break, we just had one.
All right. We are back from executive session. And we do have an action item to take place. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve H2.
Second.
We have a motion by Westbrook and a second by McGee and Wynn and Curtis.
And
McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I would like to say before we move on that I do want to thank the folks at Bickerstaff and Philip and this council and the public for the way this whole thing has occurred, and it's been transparent and been open, and it's been a good process. So thank you all for participating and making it work like it should work. So before we move on to 8R1, we are going to take about a 5-minute break. Sorry to come back and then take another break, but give us 5 minutes and we'll be right back.
And it's not because of me.
All right. We are back from our break, and we're going to stay in here until we finish. We're going to wait on Deborah to come back up, and then we'll get started. R1, Paul?
We've got an interesting one, I think, here for you this morning. We're going to talk about the sanitary sewer cleaning and CCTV for groups 6 through 8 with Vortex Companies and Taplin Group. So Taplin Group has been working in the city for the last 3 years doing our cleaning and TVing as part of the consent decree. So they've done our 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of the consent decree inspection work. They've done a good job. We've been very happy with them, and we want to stay with Taplin due to continuity. They know us, we know them, they know our system, and they're producing good work. So what we are proposing to do is utilize a buy-board contract, so we don't have to go out to bid. We don't have to open it up to the possibility of changing contractors, which this is our 3rd contractor now doing this work, and they've done the best. And their pricing has been very competitive and very good, so we would like to stay with them. So the dollars that we're talking about to do the cleaning for this coming year are $1,468,000 that we plan to pay for out of our planned budgeted operating funds. The cleaning for this next year and inspection work will be in the basins that are pictured there, basins 6, 14, and 19. Those are the parts of the city there in the red, and then the one yellow on the west side of the city there. And we want to utilize the buy-board contracts, again, so that we can stay with Taplin. Vortex Companies has a buy-board contract, and we've worked with Vortex before. They've done manhole coating, they've done CIPP, the cure and in-place pipe, they've lined our wet wells and our lift stations, so they've done quite a bit of work for us. And this buy-board contract has pay items for the cleaning and TVing, so it works well for this. In addition, it's got line items for what I'm going to call support work. So when we're doing our cleaning and TVing, we run into manholes that need a new ring and cover they can't get into to complete their inspection. Maybe we've paved over them. Maybe they were never raised to grade to begin with. They're 3 foot deep or 4 foot deep, and we need to raise them to grade in order to complete the inspection. So the line items that we've got for this work, or that this contract has for this work, would cover those and allow us to more easily facilitate that work. Taplin, as the subcontractor working and doing the cleaning, has the information about what they need. They've marked exactly where it needs to be, and Vortex utilizes their subcontractor. In this case, it would be AAA Sanitation, who's a local contractor that does work and does good work for us, or CNA Contracting, which is another vendor that has also worked for the city, has just completed a sewer line creek crossing reroute project. Again, done good work for us. Pipeline Analysis, as a project manager for the consent decree work going forward, would of course manage this work and decide what was appropriate because they've inspected manholes, they know our system. So oftentimes there's questions that can be answered without having to go out and mobilize doing work. So that's why I say this is anticipated or as needed work, this support work. And this is where it gets interesting because this part is construction. And so we propose to pay for this $427,000 estimated cost out of bond funds, just like we have done our other construction work, and we're continuing to do with our construction work. So with all that being said, I'll pause for a minute and let you guys ask me any questions before I give you my recommendation.
Any questions for Paul?
I got an easy one for a technical question. What's a buy-board contract?
So buy-board is it's a cooperative association. There's several of them out there. This is actually the Texas Association of School Boards, TASB. There's a Houston Galveston Area Council of Governments contract. So these vendors go out there and they bid a job. In this case, this particular contract is a CIPP or cured in place contract. So if you look at that bid package, it's probably 20 to 30 pages of just line items. It's like an a la carte thing. Me as a municipality that needs something, I'll go out there and pick what I need, I don't have to go out to bid because they've been vetted. That's been bid, and in our case, if you go out there and look at the prices, they're pretty high because they don't know what quantity we're giving them. We gave them our quantities. They came back with a price that, again, is very competitive and looks right in line with several other vendors out there. So we feel good about the route we're choosing.
Any other questions for Paul?
Okay, well then my recommendation is that you as the city council authorize the city manager to execute the first year of a planned 3-year indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract for the cleaning and closed circuit television, recording of wastewater lines in group 6 through 8. The TASB Byboard contract 635-21 with Vortex Services for $1,895,000 and consider approval of a resolution reserving the right to reimburse $427,000 of those dollars with expenditures from proceeds of future debt.
Point of clarification, Mayor. So we're just approving the first year of the 3 years?
That is correct, and the way this contract is written, if the next year's estimated cost is at this dollar figure or below, we can just issue a continuance and move into the second year. And for additional point of clarification, the third year is when we start re-inspecting. So we've got the option then to just continue, because we've got to re-inspect lines a certain size every 7 years. So that's why we wanted to finish in 7, so we can start our re-inspection. Otherwise, we'd be re-inspecting well over 1 million feet of lines that last year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by McKellar, second by Westbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
'01.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning.
City Manager. Morning. Ms. Pullen. Come to you today in reference to our civil service classification plan with the addition of the 2 firefighters and the 2 police officers that were added in the budget of this year. It's necessary for us to re-update our ordinance. Coming today requesting that City Council consider adoption of the ordinance amending Tyler City Code Chapter 3 Civil Service Classification Plan by amending the Civil Service Classification Plan and number of authorized civil service positions for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. And that was the 2 that were added for us and the 2 that were added for the fire department this year.
Simple.
Simple.
Any questions?
Move to approve it 01.
Second.
Motion by Curtis, second by McKellar. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank both chiefs for the great work that they've done in keeping us very safe during this past year. And so I'm sure that there's going to be a great bonus, or Christmas bonus somewhere. I'm still looking at that ATM machine. Thank you, Chief and Chief. Seriously.
Yeah, don't listen to her.
Jesus, don't listen.
She got a card out today, man.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, chiefs.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. I have 02. The fire marshal's going to come up and join me in case you guys have any questions. This ordinance is about outdoor burning, so it's requested that the city consider adopting an ordinance amending Tyler City Code Chapter 6 by updating and amending the outdoor burning provisions of the 2015 International Fire Code and also adopting a new outdoor burning permit and fee. So what this essentially is, the International Fire Code 2015 says that you cannot burn in the city. So we still have that. That still is in existence, but we have some exceptions. And so this will be an exception. 10 acres or more, if you're building for commercial or residential projects, then you're able to do it by pulling a permit, and we do have an associated fee involved. And then we would monitor for so many days. We would monitor. The fire would only burn during the daytime hours. They can't put any more timber on it after 5 o'clock. This is not a trash burn, meaning there should not be any tires or any kind of trash burned in these. This would only be timber and foliage, okay, that would be burning here. We went in front of the Developers Roundtable on September the 9th, and they approved it. And then on December the 2nd, we went in front of the Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeal, and they voted to recommend this passage by the City Council. I have the Fire Marshal here. If you have any questions, then we'll field those.
Chief, my only question would be is, once a developer takes that permit out, you know where he's gonna burn, do we reach out to any of the nearby, which there won't really be any adjacent structures or homes, but just in the general vicinity, so that all of a sudden they light a fire, you see smoke, that you don't get inundated with calls over a fire?
That's a good question. I would envision us handling it the same way as we do for the occasional permitted firework display. We've started partnering up with the folks in communication, Julie's bunch, to try to not only do press releases, but also push that out in the various social media platforms out there, just to at least try to do our part and make a notification to the area nearby where the burn is taking place.
There's also provisions there in case there is a complaint, a nuisance complaint, if it's blocking the roadway, meaning smoke going across the roadway and people can't see. Any unsafe condition, we can stop it at that point. So, and there's also a wind provision. So if the wind's too high or too low, then there wouldn't be any burning on that particular day either. And we would work out how to extend their permit, beyond that on days. So there would be times that weather would not allow them to do it. So we would have to shut it down on those days.
So can trees be taken to the 10-acre spot to be burned?
I believe the ordinance is just for that site. It's not for additional timber to come.
Correct. Any material being burned has to be generated solely on that site, and that's similar wording to the current exception, the 2-acre exception we have for residential type burning. So it has to be generated on the site.
Okay. I think it's a great ordinance. I've received some calls from folks where there's so many trees on some large pieces of property that have been taken down because of the winter storm, and the cost to take them to the landfill or anywhere else is just so high, and now these people will be able to get a permit and burn them on site. So,
Well, only if they meet the acreage.
Yes.
For a lot of people, for most of the residential people,
this is over 10 acres.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
But it also has a provision for the purposes of building residential or commercial projects as well. So
that's in the details.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the tickets come in, if they don't have the details.
We have unauthorized burning all the time here.
I'll have these people just call you on and talk about it. All right, any further questions or comments?
Okay. So the request is that the City Council consider adopting an ordinance amending Tyler City Code, Chapter 6, by updating and amending the outdoor burning provisions of the 2015 International Fire Code, and also adopting a new fire burning permit and fee.
Move to approve O2.
That's second.
Motion by Curtis, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Expect a phone call from folks. Kedrick.
Mayor, council. All right, this is a fun one. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of numbers. Of course, you all got the detail. There's quite a bit of it. But this is item 03, and this is our annual budget amendment ordinance. And so these are generally items that we just weren't able to complete last year. And so we're asking to carry these forward. As I mentioned, we have the detail in the packet. So basically what we're asking you all to do is we need to amend the general fund by about $412,000, and part of that includes glass gym floor from the winter storm that was damaged. We had to repair that. We did get some insurance money on that to cover that. The general capital improvements fund, we're requesting about 945,000 there. That's related to the neighborhood services building remodel and the fire admin remodel. Street improvement fund, 266,000. That's just carryover from last year. Asset forfeiture fund, almost 51,000. Tourism fund, 46,000. Housing, 534,000. CDBG, 1.89. Home, about 329,000. Water utilities, go to the next slide. Water utilities, about 1.7 million. That is actually an increase in our chemical budget. The chemicals are just, they have exploded, the cost on the chemicals. So we're asking that you all amend the budget for that. Water capital fund, about 2.6 million. That's related to Southside wastewater treatment plant clarifiers, chlorination system at Southside, Golden Road filters, and our wastewater master plan. Airport grant fund, $2.5 million there. A big part of that is fencing and an ARF truck that we're looking at purchasing for the fire department. Solid waste capital fund, about 85,000. Stormwater, 237,000. Productivity, 38. Fleet, $1.5 million there. Just slow process of getting vehicles in, so we're requesting that you amend that budget as well. Property facility fund, the property adjacent to the city complex that we bought for our CSI crime scenes investigators for the police department. We're looking at repairing the roof there, which is about $114K. And then information technology, just various items of $197,000. So we're recommending the City Council consider approving the attached ordinance amending fiscal year 2021-2022 budget to fund various projects that were not completed, motor vehicle purchases, and other purchases not completed by September 30th, 2021.
Any questions for Kedrick?
Kedrick, so some of these are carryovers, and some of them are just.
There
like
are
the
some
chemi-
new items.
The chemicals for the water treatment, wastewater treatment, I know this is your department, but have you heard if there's any change in that yet, or, I mean, they zoomed
Yeah,
up.
that is why they're requesting the additional 1.7 million. They reached out to the chemical suppliers.
And they're remaining high.
And yes, it is, we couldn't believe it ourselves.
I can't remember what oxygen went up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the.
I know that, I don't know if Jim's got it or Kate's.
The most expensive one?
Yeah.
Well, the second, the second most expensive chemical was chlorine, which we use at all of our facilities, including the wastewater treatment plants. The most expensive was our powder activated carbon, which we use at Lake Palestine for taste and odor control. But yeah, chlorine, which
Do you know what the driver on that was? Is that storm damage down at the coast, or?
No, it's some storm damage from the chlor-alkali industry from Winter Storm Uri.
Okay.
But a lot of it is the supply issue they're having with, I think, drivers, as well as the supply issue they're having just in general with every product, you know, any petroleum-based products too, we're having issues with. But as far as the chemicals are concerned, mainly supply issues.
Any other questions?
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kedrick. Thanks, Kate. Stephanie.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning.
This morning, I'm just here to present to you all a simple addendum to our original deed from the Stewart Park project that we did. We accepted that project by deed from the estate of T.B. Stewart back in 2012. And we did a major master plan for that project, engaging the public, worked on some engineering plans, and The project totaled a little over $1.5 million, and we were a little less than $1.5 million, and we were unable to raise funds at that time or find some grant opportunities. We had applied for some. So it's been quite some time that this property has sat stagnant, but with the Legacy Trail Grant, we're proposing to TxDOT that this property be utilized as the trailhead facility. So we would be able to go ahead and move forward with building of the parking lot and doing something possibly with the structure. So because of the time limit that was in the original deed, we had to amend that. Also, there was some stipulations on the Lois White family and their passing before we could construct on the property. That has since happened. So this allows us a 3-year extension, and it allows us to also continue to sign a 3-year extension should we need it. But we hope that that won't be necessary. We hope that we can get started sometime next year on construction. But this is really just an amendment to do that. It's also an amendment to allow the executors of the estate, there are 3 executors, should we get into the building and we're not able to rehabilitate it, if there's some other way that we could utilize the property, maybe an open air pavilion or something, they would be able to grant a variance for us to do that in writing. So those are the 2 things in the amendment today, so we're asking you all for your favorable consideration of that today.
Any questions for Stephanie?
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by Curtis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. M2.
Good morning, Mayor and Council again. Fire Chief David Coble. I have M2. It's a request that the City Council consider authorizing the City Manager to ratify the Garrett and Associates contract on the renovation of the Fire Department headquarters to establish an owner's betterment allowance that will increase the contract amount by $96,000. We have run into a couple of issues. The building's about 51% complete, but we've already used up right at 50% of the contingency money as well. What we found was a lot of the wiring had run through the foundation. We didn't know that until it was demoed, as well as IT expenses were not included in the original bid. So we thought we would be able to bring some things over from our current building. However, that building's going to be used by the city, and so we needed some additional funds to make those things happen. So I'll open it up for any questions at this time.
When do you think it'll be done?
February, right around Valentine's Day is what they're proposing right now.
Cool. Any questions for Chief Coble?
Move to approve M2. Second.
Motion by McGee, second by Curtis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Kate.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Again, good morning, Mayor and Council. Kate Dietz, Director of Utilities. I'm here today to ask that you renew our contract with Pipeline Analysis for staff support services for the consent decree. So Pipeline Analysis, they have been working on groups 1 through 4. They've assessed and we are undergoing design and construction on all groups 1 through 4. In groups 5, the group 5 basins annual field condition assessment has been completed, and they're in the process of preparing the EPA condition assessment report, which is due March 1st of 2022, and then that remedial measures plan is due July 1st, 2022. Group 6, they're going to start working on the annual condition assessment at the start of this next year. In addition, they have assessed all 11,800 manholes in our system, so we are 100% complete on that, which were required within 5 years' time per the EPA consent decree. Also, with the gravity main lines, they're 62% complete on assessment of the gravity main lines, so over 422 miles have been inspected. We're on schedule to complete all of that gravity line assessment within 7 years. So the EPA is requiring that be done in 8 years. We're hoping to get it done a year ahead of time, so we'll have a little bit of a buffer. Some new tasks for next year, actually, I skipped a. They also are working closely with our staff on the capacity management, operation, and maintenance program. They're assisting us and providing updates to that program and manual and recommending procedural changes to increase efficiency. And they're also continuing smoke testing, which I'm sure you all are aware of as well, to identify wet weather inflow sources and prepare a remediation plan for that. And this next year, and actually they just started some of these new tasks, they have started as our program manager for the consent decree. So overall, what they're doing is they're monitoring the progress of the consent decree. They're looking at design engineer schedules and looking for EPA compliance. They're preparing all of the required EPA annual report. We're still doing the quarterly report, but they're doing the annual report. They're providing as needed design advice to the design consultants and to the contractors. They're providing hydraulic model results for the capacity design, both existing hydraulic model results and running new scenarios in the fact that we might need it for new development or some lift station design or some reroutes. They're also providing assistance in preparing the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts for the emergency and non-emergency repairs. So today it's I'm asking that you approve and authorize the city manager to renew work order number 1 with pipeline analysis with a projected cost of $1.25 million per year for support of consent decree requirements and the wastewater collection system's capacity management, operations, and maintenance program.
Any comments or questions for Kate?
I have one. Kate, the 1 year expected finish date sooner than anticipated, does that come with any saved expenses?
Because they took on the program management these past few months, that has increased the amount of potential that they would spend, so that's why we're doing the renewal a little bit earlier.
Any other questions?
Move to approve M3.
Second.
Motion by Westbrook, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Morning, Mayor and Council. Come to you today in reference to a resolution to the Texas Attorney General's office where they have joined a group of states in reference to a $26 billion settlement with Johnson & Johnson or Janssen and other distributors in reference to the opioid crisis. Our portion of our allocation of that currently is $723,829, and that'll be paid out over 18 years, depending on what portion of the settlement it is. Reference to today, we request the City Council consider adoption of a resolution authorizing the City Manager to approve the allocation method set forth in the Texas Opioid Abatement Fund Council and Settlement Allocation Term Sheet and execute all documents necessary to accomplish the settlement. Any questions?
So we've received the $40-something thousand a year, but there's not a decision yet on how to spend the money, correct?
No. The nexus there has to be that it has to be prevention or dealing with the actual opioid crisis, whether we use it for education and training, whether we use it to buy tools. Right now, we use a grant to pay for the Narcan and Naloxone that we give officers. If that grant goes away, we could use this to pay for that stuff. We could put drug take-back boxes at different facilities to take pharmaceuticals off the street, which we do it a few times a year now through the DEA, and then they take care of the destruction. This grant would pay for the destruction of those, where we could take them to Sharps or some other place and have them burned, so we can take those off the street. There's a lot of programs. There's a long schedule of uses that we could put in there, including training of firefighters or police officers on how to deal with these things. But it gives us a lot of discretion to be very creative to deal with problems we have. If we're having a specific problem, whether it be homelessness, whether it be a certain area of town, whether it be something that we're having a problem with, how do we push that downward? How do we get individuals the help they need? How do we get them to the resources they need? But these funds would be managed by finance, and anytime we had an idea or wanted to use those funds, we'd make a request to the city manager, or and you, depending on what the usage was.
Can we use the funds for the new radios?
No, even though we do use the radios when we respond, I think that may be stretching it. I don't know if that's on the, if it made the list, but any type of EMS response, first responder response that we do, the training of equipment, any type of response, we can use the money for. So fortunately, you guys have done a very good job of funding us in that area right now. So we're looking at things that may be on the needs list that also fits this criteria to use.
All right, any other questions for Chief Coble or Chief Toller?
Move to approve M4.
Second.
Motion by Curtis, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Leanne. Great looking Christmas tree on the square, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Good morning. Thanks to a community block development grant, funding became available for us to make some much needed renovations to Noble Young Park. Some of these renovations will include a new pavilion, restrooms, playground equipment, sidewalks, a walking trail, and some outdoor exercise equipment. We put out an RFQ for design services for improvements to Noble Young Park located at 3125 Seton Street. This request was posted in the paper on November 16th and again on November 23rd. We held a pre-submittal meeting on November 18th here at City Hall. All submittals were due on December 3rd by 2 p.m. We received 2 submittals, one from Aqueous and another from Half and Associates. Based on the review of that criteria in the RFQ, it is recommended that the City Council authorizes the city manager to enter into an agreement with Half and Associates to provide design services for the Noble E. Young Park renovation.
Any questions for Leanne?
Can you see the smile on my face? I don't know, many of you probably even know about this park, but it's a hidden gem in the St. Louis community. So if you ever get a chance, just go by and look at it now. And I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see what it's gonna look like after the design comes out.
We are too.
It's gonna be great.
I guess that's a motion.
Yes, sir.
Second with him.
All right. Got a motion by McGee, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Leanne.
Does everybody know Noble Young West?
No.
He was the African-American pharmacist in Tyler, Texas. When I was growing up.
No, not
we
me.
were not born yet.
Yeah. Heather.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm bringing to you this morning a consideration for appointments to the City of Tyler Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board of Directors, and also consider reappointment of a chair to the Board of Directors as well. So the board consists of 9 members, with members serving staggered 2-year terms. And the city makes 6 of those appointments to the Board of Directors. As administrator of the zone, the Tyler Economic Development Council requests that the city appoint Ed Thompson and reappoint Ms. Kathy Harry and Ms. Tanya Reddick. It is also recommended to reappoint Dean Cagle as chairman of the board, and those new membership terms for these 3 representatives will be January 1st, 2022 through January 1st of 2024. And then the new chair term will be from January 2022 to January 2023, as it runs just a 1-year term. So that's why you see me up here every year, because of those staggered terms. So with that, we are asking that you make that recommendation, or adopt those board members.
All right, any questions for Heather?
Move to approve B1.
Second.
Who made the second? We got a motion by Wynn, second by Curtis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Heather. All right, now we have moved to the consent agenda. Anything need to be pulled?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Westbrook, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City Manager's report.
Mayor and council, just a few things. It is the season, and with that, I want to just kind of extend my appreciation to everyone who participated in the Christmas parade. We had full council involved in the Christmas parade, and we had the Christmas tree lighting that turned out without a hitch and went very well. With Blue Santa last night. Appreciate the council members who came out for that. Thursday night, it will be at the Walmart on Highway 31. That is such a great opportunity. It's more than probably, I think, about over 1,000 children, if not more, are being served by our police, fire, and others who are helping to be able to get them gifts when they wouldn't be able to have really that much of a Christmas without the assistance of those with that heart. And so we thank, as far as Chuck Boyce for organizing that, we thank the Tyler Police Department for their work and being part of that, as well as our Tyler Fire Department, who also plays a role with that. And so that is just a great event. We appreciate you and your participation in it, and the community for being such good partners with us on that. And then finally, we also have Holiday at the Rose Garden that has started up. And so this is a great opportunity for those in your communities and neighborhoods to get out, enjoy this beautiful weather we're having, and to see the lights through the Rose Garden. And also take a look at some of the construction going on over there as we're building the new convention center with that foundation poured and being put in. And then finally, I want to just say thank you. I mean, this will be our last meeting of 2021. This has been an incredible year. We have had numerous different, as far as difficulties and as far as obstacles put before us, and this council has done an incredible job of navigating those, overcoming those, and doing things that your children and grandchildren will be reading about in regards to historic weather, pandemics, and other things. And so it is an amazing thing that y'all have done, and we appreciate your guidance that you have provided for this past year. And we're looking forward to an incredible 2022 ahead. So with that, Mayor, turn back over to you.
Ed, thank you. And like you said, this will be our only meeting this month, so we'll be back in 22. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all and everybody out there. It has been an incredible year, and I'm proud to serve with all of you. And Ed, thank you. Staff, thank you. Deborah, thank you. It's been a great year. Any other comments before we adjourn? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Immediately, okay, so I can
Creative, and the bicyclists love it. It's a way for motorists and bicycles to both be safe and honor one another and love one another and ride